We're live. Let me double check that it's on Facebook.
Yeah, it looks good. Hello, everybody. We are here with Donna, and we're going to do her charts. She's a 2-4 pure generator, and I wanted to let you introduce yourself first, Donna, and tell us a little bit about you, how long you might already have been in human design in the Gene Keys, and tell us just little basics.
Perfect. I'm Donna. I'm calling from California. I discovered the Gene Keys about 2 years ago, and as I like to say, they found me. It was like a language I already knew. I felt like I've known. I became very intoxicated with it immediately. I started to help others to understand their charts and to discover their hidden gifts. And then about a year into it, I got acquainted with human design. Now I can't imagine one system without the other. There's just no way. It really helped me to look back, by the way, on my Chiron return phase where I got very sick. And so that was very helpful. I've been studying a lot of healing modalities and have really landed on vibrational therapy. And so currently I am trying to create a practice that combines the Gene Keys with vibrational therapy, like tuning forks and singing bowls. I'm sure there's someone out there doing this already, and I'd love to see what they're doing, but that's what I'm doing now. I kind of flew through my own Gene Keys at the beginning, and Richard's deep dive is pretty amazing. I hope he goes into the Venus sequence with his deep dive. But the way that you read Allison's chart was perfect. I loved it. Bella started in the Venus sequence. I love how Ashley summed it up at the end. So how you did Allison's is perfect for me.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we are probably even going to ask you about your Chiron return and what happened, so kind of, go deep into it. But that's cool. It's always good for us to know if we can dive deep or if we need to kind of go over the basics. But in your case, since you're already working with it, I feel like we are not going to be afraid to go wherever we are taken.
Exactly. Yep. I've learned a lot. I've helped about 35, 40 people sitting down with them with their charts. And I can't believe how much I've learned from their charts. So I love it.
That's awesome. I know that with each time that you go into somebody's chart, you learn more and more and more, and you kind of also start to use your intuition and connect the dots, because I love how the right people always magnetize to you, so that like it's a mirror. So like you get something from them, they get something from you, and you always know exactly what you need to know for that person. And then you just keep expanding the breadth of your knowledge,
Exactly. But I have to say, the two of you, your videos are incredible. I've learned so much from you. I rewind it all the time just so I could write down some of the things you say. So
because we talk so fast.
We both do talk fast, but you're so generous with your time. Thank you for all the videos you put out.
Oh, thank you. Well, how about, let's get into your chart. Bella, do you have hers pulled up on your phone? Because it's in Dropbox. You're still muted too, by the way. Just so that you know.
I'm ready. I'm looking at the human design on my phone right now.
Okay, I'm gonna pull. Then I shall pull up. We'll start with human design like we did yesterday. I think that is a perfect way to start. There we go. Let me see. Can you see the human design chart on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Donna? Okay, perfect. So yeah, let's just dive into it. Did you want to start, Bella? I'm gonna kind of look at it.
Yeah, I see a lot of openness again, like yesterday. So it seems like we have those charts with a lot of openness with people. The word empath is kind of used a bit too much, but this is like the true empath, not the like emotional kind of stuff we hear out there. You are a person who so much is filtering through you. And you have to learn through your life path what is yours and what isn't yours. But it can be everything that comes in those centers when we don't know about our design can amplify. So for you, we have those like risk centers about other people's emotions that you take in and how that could make you avoid your truth. Your spleen, you might stay in things for a longer time than it's good for you, because you don't have this sense. You think, oh, another year in this relationship or another 2 months might not do much, but actually it does. The same thing with the open ego, with approving yourself, the open heart, maybe looking for love outside yourself, and then you could be a spokesperson for a lot of other people. So those are the, you know, the human design risk centers where we want you to become really wise. And I think this is maybe things that what I feel when you do the singing bowls with people, it's almost like you're putting them into their own vibration, because that's what Ashley and I always say. When you're in your own vibration, then everything that comes in doesn't really matter for you. So I feel like that's part of what you've done. The whole middle part of your chart is open, and there is something that you are filling it now with vibrations that are where you can feel yourself. That's something that looks like that for me. And you don't have a completely open center. So I wouldn't say that there's one open center that is like even more special than the other ones. But I see though that the 40 is activated, and it's on the soul side. So I think, you know, maybe going too fast and maybe having something to do with exhaustion, and that is something where, you know, the balance, doing one thing at a time as a generator is something good to learn. But I can see that it could be. So maybe my first question is actually go in and tell us a little bit about your Chiron return, what happened, and in what sense it was that you weren't feeling good.
Well, the majority of my life, I've been a graphic designer, Ashley. Now, I'm talking incredibly long hours, taking every project that came my way. Just unlimited energy, unlimited. So when I turned 50, there were plenty of signs leading up to that I was going to get fibromyalgia, but there was adrenal fatigue, chronic fatigue, lots of things going on. When it hit really hard. It was like a train that ran me off my tracks, very painful. I started seeing all these doctors, but long story short, after all these doctors and money, I took a step back, quit everything, and spent time with myself and started looking at the corruption that was going on inside of me, my organs, what wasn't working, what needed attention. And in a 2-year period, I pretty much got rid of all the pain. Well, actually in like a few week period, got rid of the pain, and 2 years did it all on my own. And when I speak to others about fibromyalgia, it was very empowering for me, but it was about taking my own power back and not giving all this time and money and energy to all these other people who never had fibromyalgia before, but taking my own power back and figuring it out myself. So, but it was a painful journey, but very empowering. I'm glad it happened.
Wow.
Changed the course of my life.
My aunt has fibromyalgia right now too, and I can see how the exhaustion. She's a projector, and I kept telling her, I was like, you're just taking on way too much. It's like, I feel like fibromyalgia also is a symptom of taking on too much. It's like, oh, okay, now you need to relax. Like, just go relax, you know, because it hurts, doesn't it?
It hurts. And it is really just a name for a whole set of symptoms. You can't take a blood test and come up with fibromyalgia. You know, it's a name for a set of symptoms that they don't know. You know, but yes, what you said, it brought me to my knees. So it made me stop the exhaustion, the crazy work. I work from home, so it was easy for me. You know, I didn't have to stop working, but you know, I had to juggle things a little differently. But taking your own power back is pretty important, and being silent with yourself to figure out what's happening inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a really good strategy, and also that you kind of accepted your own limitations. Speaking about your incarnation cross and your personality sign, that finally you actually did understand where structures are good, and where saying no probably is good. I'm wondering, because you have your head and your ajna that are on the top, and then you have your root and your sacral on the bottom. Have you felt like you have two parts of yourself like kind of work by themselves? Do you have because the way that we look at it in Unlock Your Design is that you're a generator. I mean, it's really important that you're grounded in that you live from your sacral, grounded in your root, and then we say that the head and the ajna is the superpower. You know, do you feel like that you have that grounding and that you're first and foremost a generator that responds to life in the moment, and then you have the ability to look at, understand things and look at patterns and all that, but it's not where you come from. Like, that's what I'm wondering a little bit, how you deal with having that super big split and the centers on the top.
Yes, thank you. These are the questions I have for you today, because you had a great call with Ben this past week that talked about breath work. So on a mechanical question, it sounds so mechanical. I have so much energy at the bottom. I feel spiritually evolved, but my throat center, I cannot seem to bring this power up. Mechanically, are we trying to, like with breath work, or the other thing that came to mind was Qigong, are we trying to move the energy up? Because I have such issues with speaking my truth. It wasn't until the Gene Keys actually came along that that was the first time I could really speak my truth. But generally, I have an issue with my throat energy, and I'd like to sign up for some of Ben's classes because the breath work totally makes sense to me. So I do have issues with this middle part.
Yeah. And then, just looking at the throat center from a human design perspective, you have the 31, which is your core wound in the throat, and it's a fifth line. So that's like a powerful line that could compromise you when it's in the shadow. And then you have the 56, that is your other big challenge, because it's your evolution. The two big part in the Gene Key chart with challenges are the two gates that you have in your open throat center. So that would make a lot of sense. I would say that breath work is super good for any kind of mechanics. But what I really feel is that we might have everything else fire right until this really starts to fire right. So it's part of that soul challenge that you're here. I would like maybe even, I think Ashley actually pulled up some of your returns. But there could also be an interesting thing at looking at Chiron and Pluto and the core wound together. But for sure, we want to weave today what that kind of nut is, and start to unravel it so that we can have things moving just from looking at the design.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this up, and I know that it's part of like our paid material, but like I had to bring it up because I feel like it's super important to talk about and mention that pathway of individuation, because Richard does talk about the way that you get access to your throat and the way that that you're going to have things flowing appropriately and properly, because this is our central column, our light column, right? And you can tweak it, fix it, align with it by doing the sound work that you do. And obviously it's so important as a 2/4 to get involved in breath work, because that's going to give you access to your body. But this central column we have the purpose sphere, the attraction, the SQ, the pearl, and the life's work. And if you are blocked in any of the ones going up that column, you don't really get access to the ones above it. So if you feel like blocked in your throat, which would most essentially be the pearl, as we're kind of discovering and playing with, we'll see if that resonates. You would need to work with the ones below here. So then you would go in, okay, is my heart completely open? What's going to open my heart? Where do I feel blocked there? My attraction sphere, what's happening there? What's magnetizing me? Looking at the relationships, looking at your life force, looking at what you're attracting into your life, and seeing like, where can I be more in alignment with that? And the main thing is, are you in your true being? Because your purpose sphere is your being, and your life's work is your doing. So if you can't come into union with that divine, sacred, eternal inner child, then it's not going to allow you to open up anything above. And that's why too, with the pearl, you see that your pearl is 50.1. And if that's associated with the throat chakra, and this is something just me and Bella are kind of playing with, it's not officially anything that Richard has said, but if your 50 has to do with your throat, and that's all about corruption, it's like, you're not gonna have access to that if there's something corrupt there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I have different spheres in my Gene Keys. We didn't check this out. What I've been going through, I don't know. Okay. I don't think I did a typo.
I'll pull it up again. I could have sworn I put it in the Gene Keys. I'll pull it up again. But we'll just look at your your Chiron return, because I think that's important to talk on. And then I'll double check your chart. I guess we should have looked at that beforehand. But it's interesting that when your Chiron did return, you had access to all of your centers. So it's kind of like that's where you had access to figure out, okay, what's happening in my body, because you have consistent energy going there. And so you're able to feel yourself.
Wow, that's so interesting.
And I don't know if you want to speak on this Chiron return and the incarnation cross. She's the left angle cross.
I would love to speak about it, but it's too small I think it's too small. So I need it somewhere.
Okay. Let me see if I can pop it over to you. I'll put it in the messenger chat.
Yeah. In the folder.
She's across with the Clarion.
I need like this big of a screen. I have to set it up.
Let me give it to you, and then you can.
I mean, I've been looking at so many returns the last weeks. It's so interesting that that's actually what we're going into. I mean, just from looking at it before I have it, I can see if we look at the combined theme, you become 9-0. You're completely filled in. So there is this possibility for you to become whole. And all these themes that we were mentioning in the beginning as risk themes, basically you can kind of, through this chart, you're going to be able to resolve that. And only just looking at the Chiron chart, we see also that it's the 7-2. So 7 filled in, 2 open. So you have the possibility, I feel, to start living much more from your own perspective. And I can't see if there's a split so far.
I just sent you it. Go check in Facebook and you can pull it up from the messenger bigger for yourself. I just sent it to you.
Yeah, there is still a little split actually. And again, so that little split actually has to do, it's the same. It is from I think it's always the most important thing for you is to start from your sacral. That's always what we want you to do, because otherwise it's not going. I think that maybe you are trying to use yoga, kundalini, like whatever, like whatever you're trying to do to put the energy up is actually the opposite of what we want you to do. We want you to really be in your sacral, do sacral sessions. Like you are a pure generator. You don't have the emotional turmoil, not to be negative about that. You don't have the fears in that sense in your spleen. I feel like the more you ground, the more you respect your sacral, the more you do sacral sessions, the more you tell people, I need yes and no questions. If you give me open questions, I'm not going to be able to respond in a now. So that you set it up for you to be able to be this sacral being. And then I feel like so many things from there are going to float. For you to start to try to pull the energy up, I actually feel like that's more a spark that's going to happen by itself when you really respect your sacral nature. And also knowing that you have the 360, which is part of your incarnation cross. For me, it is there. It's from there that the spark comes. It's not a trying to like bridge really anything. That's the superpower is going to come anyway. But let me just say something. You are 6'2" as well. That's interesting. So there is.
Hold on one second, Donna. Can you put your birth info into our private chat so that I can make sure that that's correct? Because I'm going off of the one that we got through Acuity.
Chat with her. Okay, so.
Go ahead and you can keep talking, Bella, if you'd like.
Okay. Yeah, I would say the theme that you have is not looking at the Chiron return theme. You are here to listen to the agitation and the unease in your body. Actually, I'm not going to speak because I want her to. Let's go over a couple of minutes so she can.
It's fine. Yeah, okay. We're flowing with it.
Okay, I just sent it.
Perfect. Okay, must have typed
The
it.
Chiron theme for you is magical. You have the 51.6 and the 57.6. This is to listening to your body, to into everything that's happening in the cells, and say there's unease, there's agitation, and I am not listening to my intuition. And then you have the 61 and the 62 on the other side, and that is to kind of start to listen to the magic instead. What I feel it had to happen when you have the 51 and the 57 in line 6, something had to change. There was something in your body that you had done during so many years. This happened this happened in 2012. It just couldn't happen anymore. The 51 and the 57 had to tell, this agitation, this unease is going to make you sick. So we need to say stop here. And then you were able to become a role model in the world for something that is more sane than what had happened when you lived from your open centers and was able to push yourself in a way that isn't human. So that's what I feel your Chiron return is about. And I'm wondering, you are in another return now, I think, because it was 2012. So you have probably...
Yeah, so I'm in the next 7. Yeah, this is I'm 57 now. So this is my next phase, right?
I'm wondering, you don't have so when is your second Saturn? There might be, I don't know if you're still in this phase, but it's probably going to shift very soon. So that could also be something to look at, because you are 2-4. So you're somebody who's here to fulfill yourself first, to flow and not dance with everybody, only dance with the people that you choose, basically. You fulfill yourself first, you're a dancer, you are picky with who you dance with. You don't want to have a half bad dance. So that's so important.
Right.
You know, by these people that you want to dance with, you get to have close friendships that are here to nurture you. For you, as a 4th line, radiance and purpose, your environment are your friends. So it's not so important if you live on the mountain or by the beach. It's really those people that are around you where there is trust, where there's breath. If anybody that is in your world that you feel it doesn't let you breathe, then that person kind of goes out of the window. Because we want you to feel that your heart chakra, you know, is always getting more and more wide when you are with people. So those are the things that for 2-4 are super important. But right now you have been in a 6-2 phase. So that second line is kind of picky, and it's like even a little bit more withdrawn, I would say, when it's on the soul side. And it is this role modeling period where you're sitting with people and you're doing their gene keys with them, and you're synthesizing things. Like you're becoming a role model from your own awakening, from your own intuition, 57 and 51. And that's when the magic happens on the Chiron side, on the 62 and the 61. So it is it's very powerful and telling. I mean, now we're kind of looking back in time. I would be interested too to say, what's the next thing? Maybe it happens when you're 58, maybe it happens when you're 60. But that's going to be, you know, 2-4 is your main theme. Right now, the role model is important. I wonder if you're going into a phase that is more individual, or if you continue on the more transpersonal. So that could be something, you know, to look at. And we're probably going to say, you know, if you don't have this program, we'll make you the chart at least to see where is life taking you.
Yeah.
What's the next return? I mean, I can do life cycles just to look, but I don't know if we want to go.
I think it's the second Saturn return, right? Or is it the Uranus? No, Uranus.
I'll look. I'll pull up life cycle. Here we go. So 40. Let's see. Uranus opposition, Chiron. I'll have to do life cycle. Second one. It's. Oh, she's the same. She is going to be a 5-1 left ankle cross of the Clarion. The same incarnation cross, except 5-1 now.
So, I mean, that means to be even a little bit more, there's something with you that is kind of feminine and flowy with the six lines, the 4, you know, we see, this is a little bit different from what Ross says, but we see the lines kind of in personality wise. We see that the first line, the third line, and the fifth line are more masculine, and the fifth line is the leader and is the heretic. So it's a little bit more now not being so sweet, not taking everybody else's, you know, truth, but doing your thing. And I also feel like it is the first line in the body, to go really into the bones of like what's right for you, and have the solitude and have the possibility of being individual, and then come out in the world and, you know, speaking your truth. So I feel what you are feeling right now is the pressure, not because of your design that you're bad in your split. I think it's the pressure from the return that you're becoming a 5-1, and it's a really, really important chakra. So that is something that feels more like the reason intuitively for me.
Interesting.
Let's look at your chart, and does this one look a little bit more like you?
That's me.
Yeah. I don't know why we had. Okay, so there's never things that are wrong. I feel like I was looking at the 50, and I feel like your 50 is in your radiance too. So that's kind of what allowed you to go into this healing journey for yourself, is looking at what was corrupt and what needed to come into harmony and equilibrium and balance, you know?
That's
So-
right. Yep.
So this is you. 60, 56, 50, and 3. It still stands that it's so important to come in. I mean, you watched our chat with Allison, and it's the same for you coming into that eternal child energy, and that's what's going to be your grounding, your stability. That's why you came here into the physical form, is to tap into that childlike energy and to come into like the breath pattern of a child. You have the 4th line in your purpose sphere, and that's all about breath and rhythm. Can you get into rhythm with that eternal child that you have? Because that's what's going to unlock that divine will. And it's almost like the possibilities open up to you, because, and you have the 14 in your SQ, just like Allison did.
Like Allison, isn't that funny? I know.
Pretty similar stuff going on.
I loved yesterday's call because it was a lot me as well.
So cool.
Yeah.
What would you say, Bella? It's different because the 60 and the 56 are not the same as Allison. So it's and I think with your openness, like tapping into your senses too, like being able to feel things in your body, to hear, and you're in the cross of the Clarion, which can hear and listen from the other side. So I don't know like where you're at with like clairaudience or your gifts. Like, how do you interpret spirit? Because you're obviously working with spirit this return cycle and next.
Yes, I know. Bella said something. I feel, like I said, there's so much going on in my head. I feel evolved, but bringing it to the astral plane is my issue, you know? So now when I do my human design, it says I'm the cross of laws. So when you say the Clarion, are we
that was your return.
Oh, my return, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
So, and it's not who you are. It's like a theme of this life. So it's the character you're playing in this cutscene of your life, you know?
Yes.
So
I love how you're taking it in like the Chiron return stage, because it is a very clear stage. That's how I was able to heal myself, to find my truth, to dig into my truth. Sometimes that's an issue, going back and forth from doubt to truth, from doubt to truth. So I don't know if there's something there.
Well, it is it's your pearl, you know, so.
Yes, it is. Leadership has always been a little confusing to me. I went into a leadership role early in my life, like from the age of 11 all the way into my 20s, in a big, big way. And it really scared me. It didn't feel like my purpose. And now, as I study my pearls, I feel like the leadership is there. Of course, 55 is really screaming to me right now in this time. So I'm trying to connect my leadership in a smaller way with the pearl, with the 55 and the pearls. So those were three. My pearl sequence spoke to me right away, but. The leadership, there was something that Joe Dispenza said that really stood out for me, and you've been talking about this during this call. I think it was on Women's Day he said it, but he said, lead with a fierce sense of knowing. And I wrote that down, lead with a fierce sense of knowing. And I believe this is what you mean. This is my Clarion stage. And I really loved that what he said. And I feel that that's me right now. I'm trying to embody that. Yeah.
I love the way that your design works with this too, because not only, you have an open throat, an open heart, an open G center, all this openness. So this is how you help other people, right? So first of all, spirit can speak through you, and spirit can come through your voice. Spirit can come through any of that openness. Like you're not impeded there. But when spirit gives you a message, you're able to be like, okay, here's what I think about it, and here's how I conceptualize it. And let me try to explain it so that you understand, so that you can speak it to the person. So how you'll explain it to me is different than how you'll explain it to Bella, is different than how you'll explain it to someone else. And I love when people have the open G, I'm like, you may not have a defined sense of like, here's who I am, here's my direction, here's what I like. Like you could love what somebody, like you're with a partner and he loves baseball. You're like, I love baseball too because you love it. So let's go do baseball together, you know? But then when you're with somebody else, you like doing something different. This one is going to allow you to see into the soul of other people. Like you're going to be able to take in that defined G in other people and be like, I know who you are. I see you completely. And I'm able to articulate that to you in a way that you can understand, right? You know, you can tap into their fears, their emotions, who they are, what will motivate them, and say it in a particular way that's going to help them. You have the energy centers to give you the energy that you need to do these things. And then the things that matter in connecting with people is what you're going to utilize when you're plugging into them to then help them, whatever the XYZ agenda is. Like, here's our goal. Here's how we're going to get there because I know who you are completely. And I'm going to use my energy and my mind to like get us there.
Wow.
So, I love seeing a lot of openness because you're just so receptive and you can really understand who someone is. Like when I'm with somebody who has an open G and they're like searching for love or searching for direction, it's like, you don't need to go anywhere. You just need to be here and plug into the other and be like, they can see you so completely. The sad part is you probably don't feel like people see you. Like you don't really know me. And when you come into the fifth line of your next Saturn return or whatever it is after this one, I can't remember, but you're the cross of the Clarion again, but as a 5-1. That has a projection field. People are going to say, this is who you are. You're
right.
this. I'm not that. You know?
Right.
But it's
no, I have to know deep down inside I am that. So I think I could
yeah. No compromising in the SQ. It's like when you can say, this is who I am, and I'm not going to compromise that. I fully accept and embrace myself. So your rejection of me doesn't matter because the wound there is rejection in the fourth line of your SQ. And we're coming into the 31.5, which is guilt. But it's like, don't feel guilty for being a leader and people not like jiving with you or getting on your bandwagon. You know, it doesn't matter. Like the right people are going to come and you're here to be free, to have freedom because your culture is your essence. And so if you can think of it from like an eternal child perspective, they're always going to just be themselves. Spirit's going to like move through them. They're going to have that divine will. It's like doors will open up for you and you're not going to compromise. You're going to be that leader. You're going to do what you want, blaze your own trail and be that free eternal child you're supposed to be because the purpose sphere is the being and the culture sphere is the essence. You can't do anything with the culture sphere. It's who you are. So if you are stuck in victimized thoughts and lack and all that stuff, obviously lack can come in here. The victim state can come in here. If you can just come into that magical eternal child place, everything opens up for you and you have access to the truth. No matter what, it's there all along the way, right? There's doubt, there's truth, and truth's always there, like overlapping. You just have to open up to see that. And the child can do that very quickly.
Right.
They know what's true and what's not. Like when a parent's like bull crapping them, they know.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes. I, as an adult, I like having all these open centers. As a child, it was very difficult. You know, I took in everybody's energy, couldn't figure out which was mine, which was theirs, and felt responsible for so many other people's emotions. It was a very emotional time. And I felt very suspicious about people because I didn't, I felt like I was walking around with an open heart all the time, super emotional. So as a child, I was very, very sensitive, ultra sensitive. Now, you know, it wasn't until later in my life I realized it's a gift. But as a kid, I thought it was I was the black sheep. You know, easy to tease, all that stuff. But dragged a lot of that into adulthood. But feeling responsible, very, very responsible for things happening around me that had nothing to do with me.
So can you tell us a little bit more about your first 7 years?
Yeah, that was the time, let's see, I wrote a few things down, that I felt like I was always the target. I was the second child, but I became the easy target based on how sensitive I was. So I felt responsible for all the emotions that were flying around. By the time I was 8, that's when I just started to turn inward. And that's when I kind of switched myself off and started becoming very suspicious. Now, I felt very misunderstood, but as a line 2, I was okay to go in my room, away from everybody, perfectly happy, because everything felt so chaotic to me too. The emotions were chaotic. It was a very stable upbringing, but it felt very loud. But as a line 2, and I'm very creative, I was okay hiding, doing my own thing, but that was a long time of hiding. So then afterwards, maybe more in my IQ, that was when an amazing time of leadership came in, and I used other people as my mirrors, as line 2s do. And so it was a much growing, but inside the house, I felt like a target. I felt responsible, and I did a lot of hiding.
So who was it that you were responsible for their feeling more than anything? Or like whose feelings?
I think my mother and an older sister. Yeah.
I mean,
I could feel literally walk in the room, feel their energy immediately. And then for whatever reason, because of the age I was on, I felt like I was the reason they were feeling that way.
So tell me, like in some sentences, your mom and your dad, so I understand how they were with each other.
I had a dad who was an airline pilot, so he was gone a lot. So my mom had 4 children at home alone, and it was so stressful for her. I don't think she had the emotional support. So I think we got the bad end of the stick. So I felt my entire childhood, I had no emotional support at all. So I felt like I was supposed to be the emotional support, and it was just too much for me. So I felt the blame of the bad moods or the things going wrong. I really did convince myself that I had something to do with it.
Right.
But I was really absorbing her energy, her unhappiness, her stress. So
yeah. And what about your dad when he was home? What was your relationship with him?
He couldn't be totally engaged because he was an airline pilot, and even less emotionally had the tools in his toolbox to be emotionally connected. So again, that is something I have dragged up from childhood, is that I had no emotional support from either of them. So I found it later in my life, slowly, but again, very stable. I went to an all-girl Catholic junior high and high school. We had amazing education, so stable, but and we were taught to be very responsible growing up. So lots of wonderful things, but emotionally blank, felt vacant,
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I see everything you say in the chart. And for example, if we look at the 14-4, you were here as a child to really experience true kinship, true family, true community. But your dad was not there. So your mom had to compromise because she didn't have support. And for you, it was a compromise. And since you have that 15-year radiance, of course you're going to take responsibility because you don't like corruption. And you're actually being helped by your 40.6 and your 9.6 because you go up into the ideal, into that 6th line, and you're really smart. So then you go up because that's the way that to go to for you because you're smart. So you are like, okay, if I just take responsibility, then actually I can fix this, because the worst thing the child can feel is that it can't do anything. So for you, at least when you took responsibility, you were able to have some kind of impact in the life. Otherwise, you would just have been a victim. And your culture, 55-3, doesn't like to be a victim. And then you have this powerful combination. If you look at Mars, so Mars in the core is the sign Mars, and Mars on the other side, the EQ is personality Mars. And the 5th line core wound is about guilt and forgiveness more than anything. And the 4th gene key in the EQ is also about forgiveness. There is something with your masculine planets, the Mars, with immature masculine, that where there isn't true understanding and where there isn't true forgiveness, and also almost like your dad, you don't even know what to forgive almost because your dad wasn't even there. So how can you be angry with him? There is something I see with masculine that doesn't allow you to really understand true leadership from an emotional side. The true leadership that you have been doing in the world completely comes from the 9-6 of determination of being a good leader, and the 46 that there's actually finding solutions for a family that is emotionally completely not there. And then your way of doing it in the third line, your EQ, you're like, you're not really there because you are fixing it. I have a third line EQ and a 6th line IQ. So I always go to my IQ because that's so much, I feel so much more empowered fixing the problem for my IQ than actually being with it, which is horrible for a third line, because the third line just wants to cut, just wants to escape, and just wants to, it doesn't want to be in the low frequency of the 4, that doesn't understand why they have to be so, like I always want to swear, emotional. Why can I not go into a room and feel my own emotions? Why do I have to go into a room and feel my mom and feel my sister? Like, why is that? You don't even want to be there. You don't even know what it is to forgive, but with all your open centers, it's too uncomfortable. So that's what I see you do.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. Wow.
And
bravo.
The way back is to thread back. Like we want you to stay even when you don't understand. And I think that for you is one of the worst things you can do. Like when you don't understand it, you don't want to stay in it. But we want you to be able to, even when something is emotionally not understandable and uncomfortable, like how can you still be you? Because you can probably even, the third line is tricky. You can probably even be there and speak like with a kind of emotional voice, but actually a part of you is not there. I feel the third line EQ is the most tricky one because on the outside can look like you're engaged because the third line can look like that, but a part of you is not there. That's the thing you want to, that's the thing that the fourth line want to understand and also want to forgive you for when you're not, because it's hard for a third line to actually even engage emotionally in a real true way. That's I know that for real. And other people might think that you do, but there's always something that is suspicious about that way of engaging.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think that's where my head is thinking too much. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. The third line thinks, yeah. So what is it thinking? Like when that happens, what are you thinking that prevents you from being in the emotions?
I don't know, but it is definitely there. What you said is true. I don't know, of seeing my vulnerable side, of using it against me, like I felt like when I was a child.
Yeah.
Now that attraction field, a 0.6, that's another thing that there were so many amazing things that I read about in the Gene Keys, and a lot of things I got to leave behind, by the way. I love that about the Gene Keys. You get to leave stuff behind. But that line 6, you spoke about, Bella, a couple of weeks ago about line 6 and attractions. You'd love to do some type of call or a blog or something because it's an interesting frequency where people are drawn to you, and I don't know why. It's a far-reaching of I want to be of service. That sexual frequency goes far and wide. So that's been a little peculiar in my life of trying to figure out why this gravitational pull is happening, which I don't feel like I'm emotionally engaging with all these people.
Yeah.
The 2-4 gets called out all the time anyways. Like you want to go be the hermit, but someone's going to be like, no, get out here. And with the 40 in your attraction, that's like the gate of aloneness. And so you're going to get called out. They're like, oh, look at her. She's hiding. I recognize my oldest son, Austin, a lot in your childhood because he has the 40 as well. He's a 2-4 as well. He gets blamed for everything. And sometimes I can't even stop myself, and I'll watch myself do it. I'm like, oh crap, here comes the calling out the 2-4, the only 2-4 in the house. And he has the 40, so he'll go up in his room all the time. And I can feel for him. He has a defined emotional though too. I don't know. I feel like it's part of people need to call you out so that you can engage and be there. I mean, you're a 6-2 with your Chiron return. You're going to be a 5-1. You have to get out there. And with all the 6 line that you have in the juiciness within you, it's like you got to share that.
Yes. Yes. After my Chiron return, I do know I have to stop being here on my own, working on my own, and go out and share, because that's not what I was here to be, is to be by myself.
And now you're here live with us. We're like, we're going to bring you.
That's right.
You are here.
Your biggest fear it's like now this is completely connected to what you said before, and energetically what I see with what you say, yeah, you don't dare to be in your emotional fully. You don't dare to go into that fourth line, the useful folly. You don't dare to be the youthful folly because you're afraid of being judged, or the people are going to feel like you're corrupt. You're afraid of being there, of staying in the third line. That is people are getting angry with all the time because it's dynamic, it's not consistent. You're afraid of being in your emotional truth. So you are like an animal that doesn't have a smell. So everybody sees this like animal that looks really beautiful, and everybody thinks that they want it because it's just this animal that looks so beautiful. Because animals don't go just for visual, they go for smell, but you don't have any emotional smell. You're an open emotional center that you're super afraid in. So you're not flavoring your emotional thing. So that's basically why everybody thinks that they want to have you. If you would be your true animal with all your emotional flavor coming out from your armpits, like you wouldn't have everybody wanting to think that they want that, universal frequency of you. We want you to come down in your true animal and be your true colors. And when people think that you're like bad or something, that's the people that are not supposed to breathe you. They're not going to open you. We want to have people that you can be completely yourself with all your smell, with all your emotions, and they still are your deep friendships that help you to go and do breath work with you, or do breath work in bed with you even best. Because that's the sixth line. You're going to be a sexual being, a being from the heart, a creator, exactly like you are, with all the fears in your spleen that is open, with all the emotions in your emotion center that is open. That's you. We want you not only to understand and be logical about your open centers and how to overcome the risks. We want you to fill them in with your flavor. And that I see it like the most important thing for you. To be you, to be feminine, to be that 40.6, that Shakti that knows its divine will, whoever is going to smell you or not,
Right. Wow, I am holding back. I've always been holding back, but so you read it. you figured it out. That's it. I am afraid of people seeing what's deep down inside. So, I have lots of fun things to do. More places to go. I love it.
This is important. This moment is important. This is your arrogance. This is why your leadership doesn't work in this world. And it's also you're distracting yourself. Your throat center doesn't work because you're not in your true leadership. And you're distracting yourself by holding back, thinking that things that are fucking not important are important for you. That's what's happening. So that's what we want you to stop doing. And then that core is going to open up completely. And that's when I think that even your inner masculine is going to come in and support that 14.4 your SQ. Your inner masculine is going to come in, and that's when your inner marriage is going to happen. That's also when the development of the aura of your attraction sphere is going to be much more reliable in who you draw into your life. So this is it's really beautiful if you have the courage to feel those open centers out with you, what's going to happen.
Right. Oh, exciting. Very exciting. I love this. I knew I would love what you both have to say about this. Very insightful.
Is there any particular area you want us to dive into? Is there something where your eyes are lingering?
No, actually, I asked along the way. No.
Actually, is there something you see in the pathway of individuation? Because I spoke about kind of the inner, alchemy, but is there something that you see in the pathway of individuation that that you wanted to?
I kind of started to touch on it before, but I think that the biggest takeaway from your personal pathway of individuation is that there's so much magic within that child within you. There's a lot of magic, 60, so much magic. I mean, when we can create a semi-permeable container that can expand, so much transmutation, alchemy, magic can happen in that container. And it's your three kind of needs to innovate this. So you are the child and you're there creating magic in the world. And it doesn't matter what the hell it is. It's there's so many different possibilities for you to create magic in. It's just, can you bring yourself fully out there? Can you be fully expressed? The way to be fully expressed is to, again, with this, we have the locks and the keys. It's you need to make sure that all of these are unlocked. I was going to say before, when we realized that your chart was wrong, I was going to say that Richard says that, in the Pearl Sequence book, he had mentioned that we have to strengthen our spine. And I feel like what happens to strengthen our spine is really getting that core stability. So it's this pathway of core stability and the core stability you experience in your inner masculine and feminine, but that's more happening in the SQ. So getting into that core stability, grounding into that inner child. It's like, can you come through this pathway of breakthrough? You accept yourself fully. You're not going to compromise anymore. And through that you're not compromising, you're fully expressing yourself. You can then move into this breath pattern with your inner child and this rhythm that you have within you, And I feel like, as with the sixth line being, there's something in you that's very alluring and sexual. Like Bella was saying, it's like, can that tigress come out too? Can she come out completely? And then with that inner child, like playful. Inner child is playful. And so can you open that up? And then from that core stability, the strengthening of your spine comes from like here, right? And then we're going to soften our belly. Whoever you attract into your life, can you stay with them instead of leaving, instead of separating to be alone? Right? Can you take them in? Can you experience that? No matter what's happening in the situation with your mom, your dad, your sisters, your current relationships now, it's like you always knew that you can go either inside of yourself or actually to your physical room. Can you still be where you are with a soft belly, knowing that nobody's going to attack you, punch you, destroy you? No one can defeat you. Like just having that mantra, like I am sovereign, I am whole, I'm healed, and no one can defeat me. Like there is no war, right? And so when you're there and your belly's soft, you can open your heart because no one's attacking me. I'm not a victim of anything. No one's attacking me. And then you don't compromise yourself because there's a way that you shield yourself to the other so that they can't pick on you. So you don't show everybody completely because as a 2-4, you get called out a lot. So if you don't show yourself completely, people can't call you out on the things that you are not proud of or the guilt you feel about who you are. Because that fifth line is all about guilt. I mean, I have that in my core wound as well. And you, from a very early childhood, it's like, I'm going to feel guilty for who I am and I'm going to compromise in all these different places. So can you not compromise? And you're not compromising your heart. What does your heart want? Like you have the fourth line in your SQ. That is your heart. In the chakra, that's your heart. It's the sweetness. It's the love. It's the community. Can you still open your heart? And then with that open heart, that's where you gain access to your throat, where that vibration comes out, where you are then speaking your truth out into the world. This is your holy grail. This is the cup that you drink from. It's your individual truth that you are sharing with the other. It's the truth that you've learned through the interactions that you have with others, through the mirroring you've had as well. And you want to be recognized. That's what's going to feed your soul too. Like you're hiding, but when you get out in the spotlight and people start to recognize you for the strengths, and then you're going to start feeling free. Then you're going to start really tapping into that leadership because that recognition, oh my God, you see me. Oh my God, you are listening. Like that's going to fill you. I have the second line in my pearl too. And I feel like that does fill us up. You were a graphic designer for a while. You could hide behind the scenes and give them their artwork and they'd be like, oh, you are amazing. You're like, oh my God, I am so amazing. I'm so amazing. It was I went through this pathway. I was behind the scenes and I'm still kind of behind the scenes with Bella doing the videos and stuff like that. But I'm coming out more and more because you're here to share your truth and to be recognized for that. And that's the magic you're putting into the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, fabulous. Fabulous. Oh, thank you both so much again for all that you do, not just this call, but for everything you do for the community, the Gene Key community and Human Designed.
Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing like parts of your childhood and then your chart. Like we said on Allison, it's like you can't hide. And this is like the first step to being fully expressed. It's like, hey, everybody, look at my charts. Look at who I am. Granted, not everybody can read it, but we're here reading it for people to see. We're like, hey, this is Donna, and this is what Donna's about, and this is her highest potential, and recognize her. Recognize her right now.
And also how interesting it is that actually your gifts have been holding you back. because all the things that are holding you back are your gifts. So that's the tricky thing. That's why many times we need to weave it together, because it's not wrong. It's amazing that you can use your gift to do this, but that's not we are only interested in the truth of what you are, because we know that you can only be fulfilled in the world if you're walking the truth of what you are, not the capacities of what you're able to. No, the truth of what you are. So that's what that's why I want you to feel out your whole chart with you, not with something that is fixing something for something else.
Right. Oh.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, now I think that it's important, like from here on out, because I see we like hover around like 9 viewers, and I just keep looking at the 9, and then you have the 9 in your IQ, and I feel like the 9 and the 56 kind of weave together. I mean, we have the details and we have the distraction, and I feel like right now, if you could just, I think breath work, obviously, I think that's your next step, and then when you have that complete channel opened up, where you like feel your belly softened, you feel your heart open again like it was when you were a child, and that frequency coming through, I feel like you're meant to really uncover this like core truth that you have, so that can come out into the world. And not then when you know the truth, you can't be distracted by anything else. You're like, this is the truth, and I am determined to like spread that, share that, sprinkle that magic into the world. I can't be distracted. I am enriched by this truth. Whereas before, it's like looking around, seeing like, what do I do? Let's do this. I don't know, here and here, whatever, And so like, that's where the running in place, you're not getting anywhere. You're just running in place in your mind. And that's kind of how your mind protects you from really feeling your emotions. So maybe when you do the breath work and the stuff comes up in your astral body, you'll actually have to be with your emotions to integrate them.
Mm-hmm.
That would be great. That'd be great. Yep.
Okay.
Love it.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you. And thank you on the fly for the new chart that came up.
I don't know what happened there.
You're fast. You're really fast. So thank you both so much for everything that you do.
You're so welcome. And thank you for everyone that joined us live and watched. If you feel like compelled to reach out to Donna, you can, or to me and Bella. We're doing this again next week. So if you do have the 27 in your chart, reach out. We only have one space next week. So if that's for you, you can reach out to us. And yeah, actually, Donna, go back and watch the replay and look at the old chart that we have. So then you can see, is there something in there? Because maybe it's like wanting to tell you something, even though it's not you. I feel like it was there maybe to illuminate something for the day, or I don't know. It's a day transit. It's like, Donna, what is the theme right now?
There's never a mistake. So I will do that. Thank you.
Well, thank you again, and hang out for a couple minutes after we disconnect from the live. And thank you, everybody who joined, and have a wonderful rest of your day.